As we reported earlier in the show, 12 Russians have been indicted for conspiring to hack the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Well, now the U.S. intelligence chief has issued a new warning over cybersecurity, saying there is a growing threat of a devastating assault on critical infrastructure. The Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coates, explained that Russia, China, Iran and North Korea are launching daily cyber strikes on computer networks of federal, state and local government agencies. And Coates compared it to the warnings that U.S. intelligence saw in the lead-up to the September 11th attacks. For more on that, I'm joined by Serguei Beloussov, a cyber protection expert and the CEO of Acronis, a global technology company. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
Dan Coates, the top intelligence official, saying that the warning lights are blinking red for a devastating attack on U.S. infrastructure. What would that look like?
Well, I mean, there was a good movie with Bruce Willis about it, one of the Die Hard series. I think as we're moving towards Internet of Things, everything around us is becoming connected.
Right.
And everything which is connected can be attacked. And if you think about, if you look around, you see a wonderful and great city, but in the city, if you have no electricity, no water, if you have traffic light systems not working, that's already enough to create a devastating effect. After several days, you might have real problems, and you can imagine much worse things with the modern technologies.
Well, absolutely. Cyber protection, as you say, involves everything, because everything in our lives has a digital or cyber aspect, from communications to military to infrastructure. So how can the U.S. government protect against this?
Well, there's a lot of things you need to do. I think there are some things which are already done globally, such as GDPR, which requires companies to protect.
What is GDPR?
GDPR is related to privacy, and it's a government. I forgot the precise abbreviature, but basically it's a regulation which requires companies to protect data which they have of their customers and partners. Also, what is very important is that people typically think about the fact that protection is something which needs to be done by business or by large business. But in fact, every small business and even every house is potential for an attack. An attack on houses is not really less likely or less dangerous than attacks on the business. In many places, when you have a modern house, you have a lot of devices which are connected to the internet, both computers and mobile phones and TVs and digital assistants and lights. And
so as an individual, how can I protect against that? I mean, I'm not worried about Russia or North Korea attacking me personally, potentially, but there are other nefarious actors that have incentives in hacking people's personal data and personal devices. So how do I protect against that?
So first of all, you need to get yourself educated. And there is companies like ours or other companies in cybersecurity and cyber protection which provide basic information about how to actually get protected. You need to think about it. People as humans are existing for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, and as species for millions of years. And we got used to be needing to protect ourselves physically.
Right.
We wear clothes, we close our doors, we lock the doors, and so on and so forth. We don't think about our digital presence in the same way we should.
Well, NATO is certainly thinking more and more about this. There were two new initiatives that came up out of this NATO summit regarding cyber protection. How is NATO as an alliance now working to better protect against various hacks, including, as they stress, the big threat of hacking with regards to elections and communications?
I think it's, it's a great place we're talking about it, because primarily what is needed today is attention to this topic. People talk about denuclearization, people talk about biological and chemical weapons, but if you think about how likely is for somebody to actually be threatened by nuclear weapons? Very unlikely. Only a few 100,000 people in the history of the world died from nuclear weapons. Cyber attacks are happening daily, weekly, monthly.
So how do you protect then? How does NATO? What does NATO actually do? What do governments actually do?
Again, I think the first thing you need to do is you need to educate the businesses and the customer and the consumers that the protection is needed. It's a process. The second thing is you need to create regulations which would require businesses and vendors to provide protected technologies and product. The third thing is there is basically multiple ways of protection which you need to have in your devices. and on your computers. But again, it's coming back to the point, how do you make people to brush their teeth?
Right.
It's a culture, and the digital culture needs to be brought up.
Yeah, well, we're raising awareness with your help. Thank you so much. Serguei Beloussov, appreciate it.